Now, the name ashwagandha roughly translates to horse smell in Sanskrit. Not necessarily the most appealing epithet, but this unassuming shrub touts an impressive list of scientifically proven benefits, from stress relief to energy support. Native to India, the Middle East, and North Africa, ashwagandha has been cultivated and used in Ayurvedic medicine for 6,000 years and is now grown all over the world. It can be purchased in most health stores, usually among other plant substances referred to as adaptogens. So who better to chat to us about this interesting herb than Dr. Paulo. Welcome back. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Now, Paulo, let's start with the idea of adaptogens, because this is something that we have discussed on Real Health before, but I think just for a sort of classification of what an adaptogen actually is.
An adaptogen is a plant substance that assists the body in adapting its physiological response to stress.
Okay.
In a nutshell. This kind of came about through the extensive research of two very prominent scientists that each spent 45 years doing this during last century, and they came up with three criteria. So to be an adaptogen, it must be non-toxic to the body. It must restore and support the physiology of the body, in other words, helping it to adapt to stress. Okay, and therefore return the physiology to what it should be.
Right,
in other words, the chemical functioning of the body.
Okay, so Paulo, we've identified a couple of science-based benefits of ashwagandha as an adaptogen. Specifically, let's maybe break them down one at a time. So we'll start with the fact that ashwagandha helps stress, depression, and anxiety. Let's unpack that and understand why and how that happens.
Yes, so there's a lot of research on that already. So ashwagandha is known to reduce the symptoms that are related to depression and anxiety. Okay, it also reduces the levels of cortisol. Therefore, it regulates cortisol levels. So that has to do with stress, for example. It has been found to have similar effects to fluoxetine and to amitriptyline.
These are antidepressants.
These are antidepressants, two different families of antidepressants. The amitriptyline family is known as the tricyclic antidepressant family, which acts on GABA receptors. And this is how ashwagandha does it. So it does exactly the same on the GABA receptors. So it activates them, and thereby it assists the body in performing the chemical functions that are required to support your emotional desire not to be stressed, if I can explain it that way. Yeah.
So it's helping the psychological processes, basically.
Correct. From a physiological foundation.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So Paulo, the next one is that ashwagandha benefits brain function. And I mean, these two almost go hand in hand with the depression, anxiety, and brain function. But brain function also has some physiological aspects that we need to explore.
Yes, and it has to do there, I think, with memory and with preventing dementia, for example, Alzheimer's, dementia, because there's a lot of research on that. So ashwagandha is known to be able to prevent memory loss. You remember that with Alzheimer's, we've got something called amyloid plaques.
Yes.
That build up in the brain. Imagine little obstacles, that little walls that come up so the signals can't sort of get through, and that's why you can't remember. Okay?
Yes.
That's sort of a good illustration for me to try and understand it. And ashwagandha is able to reduce the formation of these amyloid plaques. It is able to reduce the toxic effects of these plaques, and it assists in their removal.
Okay.
Moreover, there is a chemical known as acetylcholine. And one of the drugs, pharmaceutical drugs for Alzheimer's, is a drug that stops the enzyme that breaks down acetylcholine from breaking it down, thereby elevating the levels of acetylcholine.
Okay.
Because that improves the condition. And ashwagandha does exactly the same thing. It works on the very same enzyme. Right? Ashwagandha is also known to increase the levels of certain proteins that are present in the brain normally, and that we know are in low levels with Alzheimer patients, and so it increases the levels of those proteins as well.
Okay.
You remember, I think a couple of weeks ago or episodes ago, we spoke about excitotoxicity.
Yes.
When some of these receptors for these chemicals become overexcited, it becomes problematic, and ashwagandha also helps the body regulate that and bring it down to normal levels.
So again, it's about sort of moderating all systems or getting them into a state where they can moderate as effectively or optimally.
Yeah, so yes, that's why there's adaptogen. So it helps the systems to adapt to the stressors that are coming from the outside, so to speak.
Right. And what about cardiovascular health, Dr. Paulo?
Yeah, there's also research on that. So there was a trial on cardiorespiratory endurance. So cardio meaning heart, respiratory meaning lungs. And it was shown that after 8 weeks of supplementation, the participants had higher aerobic capacities, a higher antioxidant status, and a reduced period of recovery.
Okay. And finally, then, of course, we need to understand metabolic health, because there is some sort of animal research around the impact of ashwagandha on metabolic
there's animal research showing that it lowers high blood sugar levels and it improves insulin sensitivity.
Okay. So
thereby
we're talking diabetic sort of stages. Right. Now, what else can ashwagandha help with? Because, I mean, we've already got some very fundamental things that are incredibly useful, but there are others, I believe.
Yes, like you said, it's an antioxidant. It has anti-inflammatory effects. Because it improves exercise endurance, it will improve muscle gain if one is attempting to achieve that. It boosts libido as well. And then very importantly, and it's one of its main claims to fame, so to speak, is that it improves sleep.
Okay.
Its Latin name, the species name, is somnifera, which literally translates to sleep-inducing.
Okay. So it's going to help us in that way, which I think a lot of people at this stage of the game are quite in need of. So, Paulo, we've put into the Real Health Medicine cabinet a product called Bio-Shoden Ashwagandha, which is a coin product from Phytoceutics. What is Shoden when we're talking within the ashwagandha space?
Right. So, the main components of ashwagandha are known as withanolides, in other words, the active components.
Right.
Shoden is a purified extract of ashwagandha which contains a 35% level of these withanolides.
Okay.
And that is what has been used in research. Now, Shoden itself, this patented extract, has at least 8 or 9 clinical trials.
Okay.
One of them was done in 2019 by the Murdoch University in Perth in Australia. A group of 60 people were taken. These were the participants. They were randomly placed either in a placebo group or in a group getting 240 milligrams of Shoden. And what they were measuring was the result in terms of depression and anxiety.
Yes.
They found that depressive symptoms or anxiety symptoms were reduced by 41%, mood was improved by over 30%, and the morning cortisol levels, which were usually very high, were drastically reduced.
Okay.
Other trials have also found that its beneficial effects on GABA and serotonin activity.
Right.
So that's Shoden, and so this product is known as Bio-Shoden because it contains Shoden. It contains this standardized extract of ashwagandha, which has been clinically tested and proved to be effective.
Now, Paulo, we've got quite a list of things that ashwagandha is useful for. Now, how long is it likely to take to see the benefits of taking a supplement of this nature?
All right. So it's a brilliant question because when you get a substance that has multiple functions in the body, all right? So let's say there's 10 functions, and you know that function number 2 is what you need for your body. So you need to sleep better, and you know this helps with sleep, and you begin to take it. And 4 weeks later, you are sleeping just as bad as you used to sleep. You have to keep in mind that if it had 10 functions to begin with, your body decides as a matter of priority where it is going to use it and for what. So it could be using it for all the other 9 needs that you were unaware of because the symptoms weren't problematic yet.
Yes, okay.
All right? But it will eventually, as it plugs those holes, so to speak, it will eventually get to have an effect on all the functions that it is beneficial for.
Right. So we're basically repairing the whole system.
Correct.
Slowly.
1 point at a time. So that happens often. Where someone expects a result within a week and they don't get it and they say it doesn't work. It's not that it doesn't work, it is helping somewhere else where you didn't know that there was a need.
Yeah.
So you need to persist and continue. Now, it is impossible for one to say whether it's a month or whether it's 2 months because it's on an individual basis. Okay. Everybody is different in terms of its, of your physiology and your anatomy and so on.
And are there people who should be cautious when taking ashwagandha?
Yes, so if you are on high blood pressure medication, ashwagandha would naturally correct blood pressure. Now note what I've just said, correct blood pressure, not lower blood pressure. There's a difference, okay? So in correcting high blood pressure, it will lower it, but it will not lower normal blood pressure. Okay, because otherwise nobody could take ashwagandha.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're on high blood pressure medication, because it corrects high blood pressure, you may need to keep a good track of your blood pressure, and perhaps your medication may have to be changed as well, so you may have to talk to your health practitioner about it.
So worth letting them know that you're on.
Then the other possible group is that we know that ashwagandha stimulates your immune system to become more effective. So in patients with autoimmune conditions, such as rheumatoid arthritis, thyroid disease, where the immune system is doing its thing, but for the wrong reason, attacking your own tissue, so to speak. There can be instances where the ashwagandha will worsen the condition because it will improve the immune system's functioning. Because ashwagandha doesn't understand, if I can put it that way, that the immune system is attacking its own tissue. Because if it was attacking a bacterial infection, then this would be a good result. So maybe those patients should keep away from it, or you can have a trial basis or work with your health practitioner closely.
But as always, be attuned to how your body's reacting to this thing. And Paulo, where can we find Bio-Shoden?
I believe it's available in health shops and pharmacies.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.